Well, thank you, Bruce. Yes, I'd like to acknowledge all the distress in Christchurch at the moment with that news, and how sorry I am to hear that. And in a way, that's what I'm dealing with, having mostly left general practice to do medicinal cannabis. I'm seeing huge levels of distress. I am going to report on 400 patients that I saw last year for CBD, but there's a bit of a theme coming through. People are self-referring. Increasingly, GPs are referring to me, and I'm doing video consults. People say that they're getting rebuffed by their GPs who don't want to know or say it's illegal, or that they're not dying so they can't have it. So there's that level. There's their symptomology, which is often very distressing, particularly decades of chronic pain or distress. Then there's legal issues that they may be faced with if they've got illicit cannabis, and who did they purchase it from. So all these different levels of distress that I'm seeing, and well, I'm pleased that I'm getting some benefit from the cannabis that I'm prescribing. So yes, with Bruce's help and a student over the summer, we've broken down my figures. Now, I'm a GP, I don't have great resources. I decided to lump my patients into 4 categories that you can see there: pain, cancer symptoms, emotional distress, and neurological. And the literature shows that half the people coming for medicinal cannabis have pain issues. So that's how it's fallen in my practice. And you can see the conditions that I've lumped under pain. These are all people that I've seen, a whole variety, and that's not good science, because you really need to look just at fibro in itself. That's a diagnostic nightmare, or endo, because these things end up with central sensitization as well. So anyway, I asked people about the pain today, the current symptoms. And you can see cancer, a whole range of symptoms. There's a lot of information about Sativex assisting with GBM, and I get inquiries about that. Emotional distress, really anxiety, depression, insomnia, if you like. But also I'm seeing people with ADHD, premenstrual syndrome, and as we know as GPs, the more symptoms that you've got from other illnesses, the more likely you are to be anxious and depressed. And so CBD, I find, has a real role here. That's the biggest thing. If there's one thing to take away, it's long-term anxiousness has shown a good response from CBD with few side effects. And then the other group, very nervous about getting into this at first, but it's such safe medicine. I'm now adding this into seizure medicine, and people are reporting reductions as the 3-year-old at the start of today, much reduced seizures, autism with challenging behaviours and sometimes seizures. Parkinson's, it hasn't helped with the tremors, the CBD, but it may just help with the anxiousness. One 70-year-old wife said her husband complained that the CBD didn't stop the tremor, but she says, you're sleeping better, you're waking refreshed, and you've stopped those horrible unprotected falls. And so sometimes you're not getting your target symptoms, but you're improving quality of life in some other way, and it's really touching to hear the stories. Sometimes it's family members who will be more aware of changes than the person themselves. So other conditions there, and benefits mixed. We've looked at some numbers there. So pain, and I try and get people to come back in a month, and about 60% are seeing me for follow-up. So 40% are not coming back. Is it, well, I don't know. I don't ask them. They don't come back. Is it because it's not working? Is it too expensive? Actually, I've come up with this scale that you can see here. This is kind of a GP scale. No benefit, good, very good, or excellent. It's not balanced. It's not your 10-point scale with a balance point in the middle, but it works for the patients, and this is the response that they give me. And I get some who say, well, actually, it was very good for my pain, No, it was excellent for my pain, but I'm only giving it a very good because it's so expensive. So, it just gives me a general sense. So now if we remove the loss to follow-up there, for pain, out of 125 who came back at 1 month, half of them, 40% of them, showed benefit. And these are chronic pain, intractable. They've tried everything else, and that's incredible. I just every week, almost every day, people singing the praises of CBD. This is the results. Just at 1 month, I'd love to know at 6 months, but I'm offering hope for one thing. When they think they've reached the end of the line, here's CBD, it's one more thing, that gives them hope. And then genuinely, many of them are reporting benefits. So again, take out the loss to follow-up with anxiety, depression, insomnia, and similar sort of numbers, 40% at 1 month, very good to excellent. And, people are breaking down in tears at the life-changing benefits they're experiencing. Neurological, less follow-up, and just a smaller group with a good response, but quite a diverse group. Take the non-follow-ups out, and again, we've got around 40% response. Cancer symptoms, I know some of those have died, that's why they didn't come to follow-up. But people come to me at all stages. They'll say, look, I've read that medicinal cannabis will cure my prostate cancer. And I'm saying it's an add-on. You carry on with your conventional therapy, add this in. But we can't force people to take medicine, and there will always be those who will stop the conventional treatment. And perhaps it's good to offer something that may offer symptomatic relief to the anxiousness that goes with a cancer diagnosis, with the options of treatment, with the adverse effects of treatment. So it's got a real place here. And if one of the benefits is anti-tumour effects, which I think some research in test tubes and animals supports, I'd take that as a very good adverse effect for my treatment for cancer pain, for instance, and maybe it is slowing down the cancer. So I'm bravely stepping out, and so again, 40% of people at 1 month of those in follow-up, or as we saw there, perhaps a lesser number, but even there, that's really good numbers for people where nothing else seems to be helping. We're also looking adverse effects I reported earlier: sedation, vivid dreams, irritability. So around 10%. I thought it was less, but I've documented those. The average dose, 40 to 300 milligrams a day. I'm finding 100 seems to be effective. Giles said that actually much higher doses might be needed. I'm getting about a 60% follow-up rate. And we're also running a quality of life questionnaire that sadly we've had only about 27% follow-up on that, and I've got Bruce's help to analyse that. And what we've seen so far is the quality of life tends to have shifted for the whole group in a favourable direction. So for those who can afford it, well worth trying. We're back to the 3-year-old that I introduced you to at the start of the talk today. I've kept a log of the 540 patients that I've seen so far, and just trying to analyse them: no good, good, very good, or excellent, and all sorts of conditions as I've described. Patient feedback, excellent. Haven't had a fibro flare since I've started. Haven't spent a day in bed, first time in many years. The oil's been very successful, 3 or 4 weeks, so cannabis can be slow medicine for some people. Finally stopped my serious pain. First relief I had, 2 weeks with disrupted sleep at first. That settled, no other side effects. Or, hi doctor, I don't know what to report. My symptoms have continued to get worse. Very concerned. CBD's not going to help everyone, and even Sativex or some other remedy with the THC as well won't necessarily help everyone. But really, we're offering a great service to our patients if we can add that to the support that we offer them. Look, I'm the medical council says I'm a GP. I can believe that I'm a medicinal cannabis consultant, and I've set up using the specialist model. So I take self and GP referrals. My first appointment is 40 minutes, and for those in the Auckland region, I have access to hospital clinic visits, and 60% of people have 34 clinic visits to the developmental paediatrician or to the oncologist or the neurologist or pain services. So I've got access to that. Increasingly, GPs are writing referral letters. Patients are reporting, oh, my GP says he's only a GP, I don't write to other GPs. But my practice is to write a very brief summary letter back to GPs every time, unless the patient says, no, I don't want to embarrass my GP, I've asked them for cannabis, and they looked very awkward and uncomfortable, and I say, well, let's educate them. No, please don't write to the GP. But look, generally, so a 40-minute visit, taking a medical history, and I'll show them the bottle. I'll go through a dosing scenario. I talk about the twice daily dosing. I've said you can add sophistication by making it QID. Some people take it after meals with fatty foods. And I write the prescription. So it will say Tilray CBD 100, because that's the only product we have, so it's pretty simple. And Sig, quarter of a mil at night, and increase as directed. Mite 25 mils, because that's the size of one bottle. 40-minute appointment, and as nature has it, it takes just about 40 minutes every time. I write to the GP, and I add it to my spreadsheet. And I invite them to come back as the bottle ends in usually, 25 days for a 25 ml bottle. And I book them for a 20-minute follow-up appointment, and I try and find out the outcomes, the dose they got to. Is there any fine-tuning that we can do? Do they want more? Has it been a complete failure? And have they got a specialist who might support an application for Sativex? And I write to the GP, and this time I say, this patient seems to be responding quite well to Tilray CBD 100, 0.25 mils QID. Here's a 3-month prescription. The patient may approach you for ongoing scripts. Feel free to contact me for further information. And I look at the clock and it says 18 minutes, and I say goodbye, and there's a 20-minute follow-up visit.